Have you ever dreamt of picking fresh fruit right from your very own yard? Today, right now, I'm giving you the step-by-step guide to have your own small or large orchard right on your property in DFW. Doesn't matter if you have a big backyard like this or a little bitty one, you can make it work, but we're talking big backyard orchards today, step by step. And if you stay till the end, I'll give you the 5 best trees to plant in your front or backyard in DFW to get ripe, fresh fruit throughout the summer in your own backyard. Okay, step 1 to making this happen in your yard is to kind of understand your goals. Begin with the end in mind. Do you love peaches? Do you love apples? Do you love blackberries? We're going to want to grow something that we want. It's going to take a little bit of work. It's going to take some time. So we want to make sure the payoff is where we start and we put a plan together to pay that off. Now, generally, most of the steps here are going to apply to all of us, but obviously, I want to know, what does success look like? Where do I want to end? What do I want to be enjoying come summer or next summer or the following summer? So let's start with what you want. What do you want to be eating, seeing, sharing? Is this about hosting? Is this about cooking? Let's think that through before we get going. Then we need to know a couple of key things. What USDA growing zone am I in? Now, if you're local in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, like I am, you're in zone 8. Most of us are in zone 8B. You could be in 8A. For the sake of this video, we won't talk a lot more about that, but that will determine what you plant because it will determine what grows here. That has a lot to do with chill hours, which means how many hours throughout the growing season is our temperature below 40 degrees, meaning there's a little chill in the air, fruit ripens, trees grow, some things don't. There are a lot of trees that will grow here, but they will never fruit here, like 9 out of 10 years because of chill hours. So that's important. We also want to think about things like water. Where do I have irrigation? Where am I willing to put irrigation? And we'll talk throughout the rest of the steps in this video of some other things to be thinking critically about. But those are some of the things we want to start with before we get going so that we can make sure we end up successful, happy, celebrating a job well done, and enjoying fruit in our very own backyard. So now that you've thought about your destination, what fruit you want to be eating and all that good stuff, we need to study the land a little bit. You might have a traditional neighborhood lot. That's okay. We're going to study that lot. But you might have 2, 3, 4, 5 acres or more. And now we need to be very careful that we choose the right location to put our small or large orchard. So we need to think about things like, where does the sun move on the property? Look, I understand it always moves east to west, but what's the shade like? If there's an area of your property that's just always in the shade, that's not a good spot for a fruit orchard. We need a lot of sunlight. But we also need to look at the slope of the land. What's water going to do? If it's holding a ton of water and it's boggy and soggy and it ponds up, that's not good. Do you have some different soil types on your property? Is there a little bit of sand on one area? Is it really rocky in another area? We want to look for the best soil as well. And then one more item that most of us need to pay attention to is, do we have any irrigation on our property? And if so, where does it reach? So am I going to plant expensive trees? And they don't have to be expensive, but trees that I'm going to invest some time, energy, and dollars into. Am I going to be able to water them? Is that going to happen naturally? Do my sprinklers reach, or do I need to add irrigation? These are all quick check items to make sure we're choosing the right spot on the property to put our orchard. Okay, step 4 is to prepare the soil. We do not want to just get trees in the ground right away. We want to make sure that either we have ideal soil, which most of us in Dallas-Fort Worth don't. Most of us are going to be on clay. Now, clay is very nutrient dense. It does some good things and some bad things with water. But depending on your location, you can do a little bit of soil research. You're going to want to prep that. If nothing more, you might want to lay down a tarp or some cardboard, kill the grass, kill the weeds. In summer around here, which is not when you want to be starting an orchard. You want to be doing this in fall, maybe even in winter, at the latest early spring. But if you're doing that, you want to prep the soil. So let's kill the grass and the weeds with cardboard or maybe a tarp or some rollout plastic. You can weight that down and let that all die back. You may also want to do what I've done here. So what you're looking at here, for the most part, are wood chips. So I've got a bunch of wood chips laid at least a foot deep when I started this orchard. Beneath that is a bunch of not great clay. Over the years, leaves. So anytime the trees drop a bunch of leaves, we bag those up. Sometimes we'll break them down and dump them on here once they're broken down enough not just to blow away. And then over the years, layers and layers and layers of that have brought us down to some really good soil. But you can see how deep this is. Once I start getting 5, 6, 7, or 8 inches deep, I'm getting into really just the top layer of old wood chips. I've got to go almost a foot down before I start getting into some clay, and then I'm getting good broken down clay that now has some pores and some water retention and things like that in it. So it's really not just like a clay pot holding water. I get better drainage, I get more nutrients, I get some earthworms and all that good stuff. So not going to go way too into soil biology, but it really matters. So we got to slow down a little bit before we speed up and prepare this soil before we move on to the next step. All right, folks, real quick, if you love the idea of a backyard orchard, big backyard, or just life on a little bit of land, that's one of the things we specialize in at the Todd Tremonti Home Selling Team, is we help people buy and sell properties with wonderful houses and big backyards. We usually say an acre or more. Sometimes it's a half acre in the neighborhood, but basically not farm and ranch, not normal neighborhood, that really amazing spot in the middle that we call big backyards or homes on land. If you or someone you love wants to buy or sell a home like that, let us know. We'd be thrilled to earn your trust and help you with that. My information is somewhere near this video. Let's get back to the orchard stuff. All right, folks, step number 6 is to dig the appropriate hole. So this is way more important than a lot of people think, especially if you have clay soil. So you need to understand that each tree needs a slightly different type, size, shape, hole dug to plant it. In the Dallas area, know that you need to go wider than you think, at least twice as wide as the root ball that comes on that tree. So if the roots are 6 inches wide, you need at least a foot wide hole. You need to leave room for those roots to grow out. You do not want a hole that will just hold the roots that are already there, or they'll grow basically like they're in a pot, because there'll be loose soil in the middle and hard packed clay around it, and it'll act like it's in a pot. And those roots will just spin around, spin around, spin around. It'll either choke out the tree or the tree will get top heavy. It will not be healthy. So you want a wider hole, not necessarily deeper. The rule here is do a little bit of research for that tree. AI can help, but it's not always right. But you can do some very simple online research for what is the appropriate size and shape hole for that tree that you're growing at that age, that type. Just know that you never want a perfectly round hole. You want a little bit of a you could dig a round hole, then rough it up and make it jagged so roots can get kind of stuck and pursue a path instead of spinning around. You also want to think about nutrients in that hole. So not everybody has the same soil type. Sometimes you're going to want a little bit of an amendment. You might want some seaweed, some organic stuff in there. They sell this liquefied seaweed stuff. Or some fertilizer. If you're not going to go organic, that's up to you. You might want to add a little bit of sand or something else to that hole. I recommend you just put the dirt back in that came out, but other people recommend differently. So do your research on shape, size of the hole, some soil amendments, meaning things you're going to add and amend in the soil, and then think about water. Before I plant the tree, I fill that hole with water. If it doesn't drain within a day, that's not good enough drainage for me to plant there, and I might want to fill that hole back in and actually mound up and plant above the ground. Now, you still need soil around it, but you might want to mound that up. So this is all about making sure that hole is right for your tree. All right, step 10 is to take some pictures and enjoy the journey. The journey is going to look like this. You're going to have year 1 trees that look like they're totally asleep. We say that fruit trees sleep for the first couple of years, then they creep for the next couple of years, then they leap when they're really, really ready to grow. So year 1, we're going to let this tree sleep and we're not going to worry about it. We're going to make sure it's alive, that it's not cracking, that it's bending. If you scuff it up a little bit, that there's a little bit of green. But this tree is currently sleeping. It's year 1 tree, okay? It may actually be beginning year 2 because I bought it. Someone had grown it for a while, but it's year 1 in my garden, my orchard. All right. Then it's going to start to creep a little bit. This is a slightly more mature tree. I did just plant it. This is what's called a jujube, or some people call it a jujube, and I'm really excited about it. But it's in the creeping phase. It's a little bit more mature tree, and it's going to put on a little bit more growth and show me that it's ready to grow. So all of this is new growth since it was in the ground here, because I bought a little bit more mature tree. So this one's beginning to creep a little bit. Then, once that tree's got mature roots in the ground, it's got a little bit of weight on it and it can hold some fruit in the wind or just bearing the weight of that root, it's going to start to leap. And this tree started leaping 2 or 3 years ago. You can come over here and see some of the apples that are on this already, and then we'll give you an orchard update later in the year. You can see the really fun part where we get to harvest them and eat them. This tree is in the leap phase, and it's a really exciting phase. So a lot of the videos you see online of orchards are of people that are just starting an orchard, and it's really exciting to see some maturity in your own orchard, but also just know that this is possible right here in Dallas, Texas. So take some pictures, enjoy the ride. You'll be looking back at your little bitty sleeping trees as you eat your peaches, your plums, your apples. And because you stayed to the end, right now, I'm going to tell you the 5 trees that will be the best bet right here in DFW. All right, I'm going to blow through these for you real quick, but there's another video on our channel where I go into a lot more depth about kind of how and what and when and where on these 5 fruit trees, okay? Number 1 is a fig. Figs do incredibly well here. You've seen my figs before. Celeste is probably the most reliable fig. You can look at what you like, but Celeste fig is going to be one of the most reliable, most successful trees in the area. Number 2 is a peach. They don't last as long, but they can do really, really well here. You're looking at Harvester, June Gold, or Red Skin are the peaches that should be the most automatic for you in DFW. Number 3 is pear. Pears do really well here. You want to look at Orient, Kiefer, or Ayers. Those are the variety of pears that will be most successful in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then when it comes to apple, you want to look at Anna or Dorset Golden. Anna or Dorset Golden. You can try other kinds, but those 2 will be the most reliable based on our weather. And number 5, believe it or not, is pomegranate. Pomegranate, and you're looking for wonderful, or there's a few types of Texas hardy pomegranates that are not super well known, but you can find them locally at times. So those are the 5 trees that will be most successful in your orchard in Dallas-Fort Worth. And man, do I want you to have an orchard. It's so much fun to share with friends, enjoy the fruit, and just spend time outside in the outdoors, away from the computers and the screens. Get you an orchard. If you want to buy or sell one, let me know. That's what we do.